a high-profile charity event takes a dramatic turn when Snoop Dogg confronts a young thief caught red-handed. But instead of punishment, his shocking decision sends ripples of change that no one saw coming. What happens when compassion replaces judgment, and can a second chance truly change a life? Before we dive into this inspiring story, let us know where you're watching from today, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful tales like this one. The camera opens inside a bustling venue in Los Angeles, a sleek and modern building decked out with lights and gold-trimmed decorations. It's the night of a star-studded charity gala, and the air hums with energy. Snoop Dogg stands at the center of it all, his signature swagger on display. He's dressed in a tailored velvet suit, with diamond-encrusted sunglasses perched on his nose and his trademark laid-back smile lighting up the room. This isn't just another event for Snoop, it's personal. The gala, called Seeds for Success, aims to raise money for underprivileged youth in urban communities, a cause close to his heart. Around him, guests mingle, some starstruck, others eager to network. "Snoop, you're the man," shouts a young fan from across the room, holding up a phone to take a selfie. Snoop waves casually and chuckles. "Ain't nothing but a G-thang, baby," he says, throwing up a peace sign, earning laughter and cheers. His assistant, Kara, a sharp and efficient woman in her 30s, walks briskly to his side, clipboard in hand. "We've raised $250,000 already, and the night's just getting started," she says, unable to hide the pride in her voice. "That's what I'm talking about," Snoop replies, his tone smooth as silk. "Let's make sure these kids feel the love. Yeah, dig." While the room sparkles with opulence and laughter, outside the venue, a different scene unfolds. On the other side of the street, 18-year-old Marcus sits on the curb, watching the event from the shadows. His clothes are worn, his sneakers tattered. He pulls his hoodie tighter around his face as he eyes the glamorous attendees stepping out of sleek cars. He imagines what it must feel like to be a part of that world, a world so far from the shelters and street corners he calls home. Marcus's stomach growls, a painful reminder of the sandwich he split with another homeless teen hours ago. He can't remember the last time he felt full. He knows this event is his ticket, not to fame, but to survival. A quick grab, just one item, could fetch enough cash to get him through the next few weeks. Inside the venue, the auction is underway. A sleek turntable signed by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg is the centerpiece, drawing a crowd of enthusiastic bidders. "We're starting the bid at $10,000, the auctioneer announces. The crowd buzzes with excitement, and a hand shoots up almost immediately. "Do I hear $12,000? "Yes, thank you, sir. $15,000. Snoop watches the auction from a distance, his sharp eyes scanning the room. He notices a young waiter, barely older than a teenager, nervously balancing a tray of champagne flutes. Snoop steps up, catching the boy's eye. "Relax, nephew. You got this," he says, giving the kid a pat on the shoulder. The boy smiles nervously and nods, steadied by Snoop's calm presence. Meanwhile, Marcus makes his move. He slips through a side entrance unnoticed in the chaos. His heart pounds as he surveys the room. Tables overflow with auction items, signed jerseys, exclusive sneakers, diamond-encrusted watches. His eyes land on the turntable, its sleek design gleaming under the lights. He weaves through the crowd, his movements quick but careful. The scent of gourmet food and perfume fills the air, making him feel even more out of place. His hand shakes as he reaches out to grab the turntable. "Yo, kid," a deep voice booms from behind him. Marcus freezes, his hand inches away from the prized item. He turns slowly to see a burly security guard striding toward him. The guard's face is stern, his expression unreadable. "What you doing?" the guard demands, his voice loud enough to draw attention. Marcus's mind races. He wants to run, but his legs feel like lead. I wasn't going to take it," he stammers, his voice barely audible. The guard grabs him by the arm. "We'll see what Mr. Broadus has to say about that." The room goes quiet as Marcus is led through the crowd. The guests part like the Red Sea, their eyes filled with judgment and curiosity. Some pull out their phones ready to record the scene. Others whisper among themselves, their voices tinged with disdain. "Another punk, trying to ruin a good thing," one man mutters. "Kids these days," a woman adds, shaking her head. As Marcus is brought before Snoop Dogg, the rapper raises an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "What's this?" he asks, his tone calm but firm. We caught him trying to swipe the turntable, the guard explains, tightening his grip on Marcus's arm. Snoop looks at Marcus, his eyes narrowing slightly as he takes in the boy's appearance, the ragged hoodie, the scuffed shoes, the look of panic mixed with defiance in his eyes. "What's your name, young blood?" Snoop asks, his voice steady but laced with authority. "Marcus," the boy mumbles, staring at the floor. "Well, Marcus," Snoop begins, leaning in slightly. "You want to tell me what you were thinking, trying to take something that don't belong to you?" Marcus hesitates, his mind a whirlwind of fear and regret. "I didn't mean to. I'm hungry." "Okay," he blurts out, his voice cracking. "I'm not a bad person. Hold up," Snoop interrupts, raising a hand. "You saying you did this 'cause you're hungry?" Marcus nods, tears welling in his eyes. The vulnerability in his expression silences the room. The tension is palpable as the crowd waits for Snoop's reaction. The guard's grip on Marcus tightens, as if preparing for Snoop's order to eject him. But instead, Snoop steps back, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "You see this, Weil," he says, addressing the room. "This young man ain't here to mess up the vibe. He's here 'cause he's hungry. And that's a problem we all gotta face." The crowd murmurs, unsure how to respond. Snoop turns to the guard. "Let him go," he says firmly. The guard hesitates but releases Marcus, who stumbles slightly, unsure what to do. Snoop gestures toward the buffet. "Go fix yourself a plate, nephew. And when you're done, we're gonna talk." The room buzzes with shock and confusion. Some guests look uncomfortable, others impressed. Marcus hesitates, still processing what just happened. Finally, he nods and heads toward the food, his steps tentative but grateful. Snoop watches him go, then turns back to the crowd. "Now, let's get back to raising money and showing love," 80 says, his voice smooth and commanding. The crowd erupts into applause, though some still exchange skeptical glances. As the night continues, the mood shifts. Guests begin to see Marcus in a different light, their judgment replaced with curiosity and even sympathy. And Snoop, he's already thinking about what comes next for the young man who dared to cross his path. Marcus sits at a small table in the corner of the venue, a plate of food in front of him. His hands tremble as he picks up a fork, unsure whether to eat or keep glancing over his shoulder. The event's attendees buzz around him, their murmurs punctuated by curious glances in his direction. He hears snippets of conversations. "Do you think he's really just hungry, or is it a con?" "Snoop sure knows how to handle drama, doesn't he?" "He doesn't belong here, that's for sure." Marcus tries to block out the whispers, focusing on the plate of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes in front of him. The warm food feels like a luxury he hasn't had in months, but it's hard to enjoy with the weight of judgment pressing down on him. He knows he's on borrowed time any minute. They could throw him out. Across the room, Snoop Dogg watches him with a measured gaze. Kara approaches him, holding her clipboard tightly. "Snoop, are you sure about this? The donors are already talking. They're wondering if this is the kind of image we want for the event." Snoop doesn't take his eyes off Marcus. "Kara, these people came here to help the kids, right? Well, that kid right there needs help more than most." "I get that, but we have to be careful. If this goes wrong..." "It ain't gonna go wrong," Snoop interrupts, his tone calm but firm. "Trust me, I got this." Kara hesitates, then nods. "All right, but the press is already picking up on this. TMZZ's here, and you know they'll spin it." "Let him spin. The truth always comes out." After Marcus finishes eating, Snoop walks over, his iconic swagger turning heads as he crosses the room. The chatter dies down and all eyes are on them. Marcus looks up, startled, and instinctively begins to rise from his seat. "Sit down, nephew," Snoop says, waving him back into his chair. "We need to talk." Marcus sits, his body stiff and his eyes darting nervously. Snoop pulls up a chair and sits across from him, leaning in slightly. "So Marcus, you want to tell me what's going on? How'd you end up here tonight trying to jack a turntable?" Marcus hesitates, his throat dry. He looks around the room, aware of the sea of eyes watching them. "I saw the lights, the cars. I figured there had to be something valuable here," he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't think anyone would notice." Snoop raises an eyebrow. Didn't think anyone would notice? Man, you're in my house. I notice everything. A faint smirk tugs at the corner of Marcus's mouth despite himself. But it fades quickly. I didn't have a choice. I've been living on the streets. My mom lost her job last year, and we couldn't pay the rent. She's in a shelter downtown, and I'm just trying to survive. The weight of Marcus's words hangs in the air. Snoop leans back in his chair, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. That's rough, nephew. Real rough. But you know what? Stealing ain't the way to fix it. I know, Marcus says quickly, his voice filled with regret. I know it's wrong. He pauses, his eyes glistening. I don't know what else to do. Snoop nods slowly. Life's dealt you a bad hand, no doubt. But let me tell you something. There's always another way, you just gotta find it. By now the crowd has started to gather closer, pretending to mingle but clearly eavesdropping. Snoop glances around, noticing their curiosity. He stands, motioning for Marcus to follow him. See, Mon, let's get out to this fishbowl. He leads Marcus to a quieter corner of the venue, away from the prying eyes and flashing cameras. Kara trails behind them, still uneasy but trusting Snoop's judgment. When they reach a secluded spot near the venue's garden terrace, Snoop turns to Marcus. Look, man, I ain't about to lecture you, that's not my style. But I've been where you are. I know what it's like to feel like the whole world's against you. Marcus looks up, surprised. But you're famous, rich. Snoop chuckles softly. Yeah, now. But back in the day, man, I grew up in Long Beach. Money was tight, and opportunities were tighter. I had to hustle just to keep my head above water. But I made a choice. I chose to do something better with my life. Marcus is quiet, processing Snoop's words. Finally, he asks, how? How did you do it? Snoop smiles, his gaze steady. By staying focused and finding the right people to help me along the way. Nobody makes it alone, nephew. Nobody. You gotta find your crew, your family, even if they ain't blood. He places a hand on Marcus's shoulder. You got potential, kid. I can see it. But you gotta believe in yourself first. Marcus blinks back tears. I don't know if I can. I've messed up so many times. Snoop squeezes his shoulder. Everybody messes up. What matters is what you do next. At that moment, Kara steps forward, her face softening. Snoop, she says, her voice quieter than before. The auction's wrapping up. What do you want to do? Snoop looks at Marcus, then back at Kara. Here's what we're gonna do. Marcus is gonna stay. He's gonna help clean up after the event. And tomorrow, we're gonna figure out how to get him back on track. Marcus's eyes widen. You mean, you're not calling the cops? Snoop laughs, the sound rich and warm. Nah, man, I don't believe in throwing people away. You made a mistake, but you're not a bad person. You just need a little guidance. Marcus nods, gratitude washing over him like a wave. Thank you. I won't let you down. Snoop grins. I know you won't, nephew. Now let's get back in there and show these folks how we do it. As they re-enter the main hall, the tension in the air has shifted. The guests, once skeptical and judgmental, now seem curious and even impressed. Snoop has diffused the situation, turning it into an opportunity for redemption. The night isn't over, but for Marcus it feels like the first step toward a new beginning. The next morning, the sun streams through the tall windows of Snoop Dogg's private office in downtown Los Angeles. Marcus sits nervously on a plush leather chair, his hands clasped tightly. He wears the same clothes from the night before, washed but still faded. Across the desk, Snoop leans back in his chair, his signature sunglasses resting on the table. So nephew Snoop begins, breaking the silence. Tell me about your plans. Marcus shifts uncomfortably. Plans, he echoes, his voice barely above a whisper. Yeah, plans. What you want to do with your life. What you dream about when you close your eyes. Snoop's tone is gentle but probing. Marcus looks down at his hands, his brow furrowed. I haven't thought about dreams in a long time. I've just been trying to survive, you know. Snoop nods, leaning forward. I get that. But surviving ain't the same as living. You gotta have a vision, something to work toward. Marcus hesitates, then says quietly, I used to want to be an artist. I love drawing, painting too, but that was before everything fell apart. Snoop's eyes light up. An artist, huh? That's dope. Let me tell you something, Marcus' talent don't go away. It just gets rusty if you don't use it. Marcus shrugs, a faint spark of hope flickering in his eyes. Maybe, but I don't even have supplies. Can't afford them. Snoop reaches into a drawer and pulls out a sleek notebook and a set of colored pencils. This here? It's a start. Now show me what you got. Marcus blinks in surprise. Right now. Right now, Snoop confirms, sliding the supplies across the desk. You can't move forward if you keep looking back. Marcus hesitates but picks up the pencil, his fingers trembling. He begins to sketch, the movements slow at first but gradually more fluid. As lines and shapes emerge on the page, his posture straightens and a focused determination replaces his initial nervousness. Snoop watches silently, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. After several minutes, Marcus sets the pencil down and slides the notebook back across the desk. It's not much, he says, his voice tinged with self-doubt. Snoop studies the sketch, a rough but expressive portrait of a young boy staring at a city skyline. The emotion in the drawing is palpable. Not much. Snoop repeats, his voice rising slightly. This is fire, nephew. You got real talent. Marcus's face flushes with a mix of pride and embarrassment. Thanks, he mumbles. Snoop stands, pacing the room with the notebook in hand. All right, here's the deal. You want to get back on your feet? You gotta hustle, but the right way. No more stealing. No more shortcuts. Marcus nods earnestly. I'll do whatever it takes. Good, Snoop says, his tone firm. You're going to start by working at my foundation. We help kids just like you, and you're going to be a part of that. You'll assist with events, handle some art projects, and learn the ropes. Marcus's eyes widen. You mean a real job? Snoop chuckles. Yeah, man, a real job. But it ain't just about the work. It's about learning, discipline, responsibility, and giving back. Over the next few weeks, Marcus dives headfirst into his new role. At first, the tasks are small, organizing supplies, setting up chairs for events, but he approaches them with a quiet determination. Slowly, Snoop begins to trust him with more responsibility, from creating promotional artwork for events to mentoring younger kids who come through the foundation. One day, Snoop walks into the foundation's art studio and finds Marcus surrounded by a group of children. He's teaching them how to draw, his voice animated and encouraging. The kids hang on his every word, their faces lighting up as they create their own masterpieces. Look at you, nephew, Snoop says from the doorway, a proud smile spreading across his face. You're a natural. Marcus turns, a shy grin on his face. Thanks, Mr. Broadus. I'm just trying to help. You're doing more than helping, you're inspiring, Snoop replies. And that's what this is all about. As Marcus continues to thrive, word of his transformation begins to spread. Guests from the charity gala hear about the young man they once judged harshly and are moved by his story. Donations to the foundation increase, and local media picks up the narrative, framing it as a tale of redemption and second chances. But not everyone is supportive. At another foundation event, a man approaches Snoop and pulls him aside. You really think this kid's worth all this effort, he asks, his tone skeptical. What if he screws up again? Snoop's gaze hardens. Let me tell you something, man. Everyone deserves a second chance. What matters is what you do when someone gives it to you. Marcus, he's proven he's worth it every day. The man shrugs, unconvinced, but Snoop doesn't back down. You don't see it yet, but that kid's gonna do something big. Mark my words. Later that night, Marcus stays late at the studio, sketching under the soft glow of a desk lamp. He's working on a large canvas, his hands moving with purpose. Snoop steps in, his footsteps quiet but deliberate. Burnin' the midnight oil, huh? Snoop says, his voice breaking the silence. Marcus looks up, a sheepish smile on his face. Yeah, I feel like I'm finally doing something that matters. Snoop nods, walking over to inspect the canvas. It's a vibrant mural of kids playing in a park, their faces filled with joy and hope. In the background, the city skyline looms, but it feels less imposing and more like a backdrop for endless possibilities. "This is dope," Marcus Snoop says, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "You're not just making art, you're telling a story. And that's powerful." Marcus's eyes shine with gratitude. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." "Nah, nephew," Snoop replies, his tone warm. "You had it in you all along. You just needed someone to believe in you." Weeks later, the foundation is hosting another event, this time at a local community center. The space is alive with activity, kids painting murals on the walls, families gathered for free meals, and volunteers distributing donated supplies. At the center of it all, Snoop Dogg moves through the crowd, stopping to chat, laugh, and take photos. He's in his element, blending charisma with compassion. Marcus stands near the mural station, watching as the younger kids paint with vibrant colors. He's wearing a new hoodie provided by the foundation, its logo proudly displayed across the chest. His posture is more confident, his eyes brighter. For the first time in a long while, he feels like he belongs. "Marcus, come over here," Snoop calls, gesturing him toward the makeshift stage set up for the event. Marcus hesitates but walks over, his heart pounding with nervous anticipation. Snoop steps up to the mic, his voice commanding but warm. "Yo, yo, can I get y'all's attention for a minute?" The room quiets, all eyes turning toward him. "First off, I want to thank everyone for being here today. Y'all make this community what it is: strong, resilient, and full of love." Cheers ripple through the crowd, and Snoop smiles before continuing. "Now I want to introduce y'all to someone special. A few weeks ago, this young man walked into my life in a way I didn't expect. But instead of judging him, I decided to give him a chance. And let me tell you, he's made the most of it." Snoop motions for Marcus to step forward. The crowd applauds as Marcus approaches the mic, his cheeks flushing with both pride and nerves. "This right here is Marcus," Snoop says, placing a hand on his shoulder. "He's got talent, he's got heart, and he's been putting in the work to turn his life around. Marcus, you want to say a few words?" Marcus grips the mic tightly, his palms sweating. He glances at Snoop, who gives him an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, Marcus begins. "Hi, everyone," he says, his voice shaky at first. I didn't think I'd ever be standing up here, talking to all of you. A few weeks ago, I was just trying to survive, doing whatever I could to get by. I made mistakes, big ones. But Mr. Broadus, Snoop, he saw something in me, something I didn't even see in myself." The crowd listens intently, their expressions softening. Marcus's confidence grows with each word. "He didn't just give me a second chance, he gave me a purpose. Working here, helping these kids, it's made me realize that I want to do more with my life. I want to create, inspire, and give back, just like he does." Applause erupts, but Marcus isn't done. He raises his hand slightly, signaling for the crowd to quiet down. "I know there are a lot of people out there like me, kids who feel lost, who don't think they have a future. But I'm standing here to tell you that it's never too late. If I can change, so can they." As Marcus steps back, the crowd roars with approval, their cheers echoing through the community center. Snoop pulls him into a one-armed hug, grinning from ear to ear. "You killed it, nephew," he says, his voice low enough for only Marcus to hear. Before Marcus can respond, Kara approaches the stage, her phone in hand. "Snoop, you're not going to believe this," she says, her voice tinged with excitement. The media picked up Marcus's story. It's all over social media. People are calling it the redemption of Marcus. Donations are pouring in like crazy. Snoop's grin widens. "See, Marcus, you're already making waves." But not everyone in the crowd is cheering. Near the back of the room, a man in a crisp suit stands with his arms crossed. His expression is skeptical as he mutters to a colleague, "This is all good PR for Snoop, but let's see how long this kid can keep it up." Unaware of the doubters, Marcus returns to the mural station, where the kids eagerly show him their artwork. One little girl tugs on his sleeve. "Marcus, can you help me draw a butterfly?" she asks, her voice filled with innocence. Of course, Marcus replies, kneeling beside her. As he helps her sketch, he realizes how much he's grown, not just in confidence, but in his ability to connect with others. Later that evening, as the event winds down, Marcus finds Snoop sitting on the stage steps, his sunglasses perched on his nose, despite the dim light. Marcus approaches cautiously, unsure if he's interrupting. "Yo, Marcus," Snoop says, gesturing for him to sit down. "You did good today. Real good." Thanks, Mr. Broadus, Marcus replies, sitting beside him. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Nah, man, Snoop says, shaking his head. I gave you a chance, but you did the work. That's all you. Marcus hesitates, then asks, why did you help me? You could have just called the cops that night. Snoop pauses, his expression thoughtful. Because I know what it's like to feel like the world's against you. And I know that sometimes all it takes is one person to believe in you. I wanted to be that person for you. Marcus looks down, emotion welling up in his chest. Well, you changed my life. I'll never forget that. Snoop smiles, clapping him on the back. Good. Now go out there and change someone else's life. That's how we keep this thing going. As Marcus walks away, the weight of Snoop's words settles in his heart. For the first time in years, he feels a sense of purpose or responsibility to pay it forward. 2 weeks after the community event, Marcus is at the foundation's studio early in the morning, the first one to arrive. The sun filters through the wide windows, casting a golden glow over the scattered art supplies and unfinished canvases. The space feels alive, buzzing with the potential of all the young artists who pass through its doors. Marcus sits at a workstation, focused on a new project. The mural he started depicting children from diverse backgrounds playing together in a park has grown into something much larger. The skyline now features famous landmarks of Los Angeles, symbolizing a city united in hope and progress. The once gray, intimidating buildings now gleam with light and color, representing endless possibilities. He wipes his brow and steps back to admire his progress. It's not just a mural anymore, it's a message. One he hopes will inspire others the way Snoop's faith in him has inspired him. The door creaks open, and Kara walks in, balancing 2 cups of coffee. Early start, she says with a raised eyebrow, handing Marcus one of the cups. Marcus takes it with a grateful nod. I wanted to finish this before the next event. I think it's almost ready. Kara looks at the mural, her lips curving into a smile. It's amazing, Marcus. You've come a long way. Marcus chuckles, a little self-conscious. Yeah, I guess, but I still feel like there's so much more to do. Good, Kara says, her voice firm. That drive is what's going to keep you going. But don't forget to appreciate how far you've come. This mural, it's not just art, it's a reflection of your journey. As they chat, Snoop walks in, his unmistakable swagger lighting up the room. What's good, all he says, his voice carrying the easy confidence that always seems to put people at ease. Morning, Mr. Broadus, Marcus says, his respect evident. Snoop waves a hand. Man, how many times I gotta tell you? Call me Snoop. He steps closer to the mural, tilting his head to take it all in. This right here is fire. You should be proud, nephew. Thanks, Marcus replies, his voice steady but emotional. I just want to give back, like you gave me. Later that day, the foundation holds a small unveiling ceremony for the mural. Kids, parents, and donors gather in the studio, their faces lighting up as the mural is revealed. The vibrant colors and heartfelt message draw applause and murmurs of admiration. Snoop takes the mic, standing in front of the mural with Marcus by his side. Why all see this masterpiece behind me? This ain't just art, it's a testament to what happens when you believe in someone, when you give him a chance to shine. The crowd cheers and Snoop turns to Marcus. Tell him, nephew. Marcus steps up, his nerves fleeting as he begins to speak. A few months ago, I didn't think I had a future. But being here, working with all of you, it's changed my life. This mural, it's not just my story. It's all of ours. It's about how we can build something better together. After the ceremony, Marcus is approached by a local reporter, a young woman with a notepad and a curious expression. Marcus, your story has touched a lot of people. What's next for you? Marcus pauses, considering the question. I want to keep creating. But more than that, I want to help other kids like me. Show them that they're not alone, that they can turn things around. The reporter nods, clearly impressed. Do you see yourself as a role model now? Marcus chuckles softly, glancing at Snoop, who's chatting with a group of kids nearby. I don't know about that, but if I can help even one person the way he helped me, that's enough. As the event winds down, Marcus finds a moment alone with Snoop. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you again, he says. for everything. Snoop looks at him, his expression serious but kind. You don't owe me no thanks, nephew. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's all the thanks I need. Marcus grins. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Snoop replies, clapping him on the shoulder. Now go enjoy the moment. You earned it. Later that night, Marcus sits in his small apartment, sketchbook in hand. It's a modest space, provided by the foundation to help him get back on his feet, but to Marcus it feels like a palace. He flips through the pages of his sketchbook, stopping on an old drawing from before his life took a turn, a rough sketch of a bright future he once imagined. He smiles, realizing that future doesn't seem so far away anymore. Months later, Marcus stands in a sunlit park, surrounded by a bustling crowd. Today is the grand opening of the Foundation's newest project, an outdoor art gallery featuring murals created by young artists from across Los Angeles. The gallery is the culmination of months of hard work, and Marcus is at the center of it all. The park is alive with energy. Families stroll through the exhibit, pointing at the colorful murals lining the pathways. Kids laugh and play on the nearby playground, their joy a perfect soundtrack to the day. Vendors sell snacks and drinks, and a local band plays upbeat music on a small stage. The air feels electric, charged with hope and possibility. Marcus stands by his mural, a breathtaking piece titled A City of Second Chances. The vibrant artwork depicts a diverse group of people holding hands, their faces lit with determination and unity. In the background, the city skyline rises, bathed in golden light. Snoop Dogg approaches, his casual swagger unmistakable even in a crowd. He's dressed in a crisp tracksuit, his signature sunglasses glinting in the sunlight. Nephew, he says, clapping Marcus on the back. You knocked this out of the park, literally. Marcus grins, his pride evident. Thanks, Snoop. I couldn't have done it without you. Snoop waves a hand. Nah, man, this was all you. I just gave you a push. The rest? That's your grind, your talent. As they chat, a small boy tugs on Marcus's sleeve. He's holding a sketch pad, his wide eyes filled with admiration. Mr. Marcus, the boy says shyly, do you think I could draw like you someday? Marcus kneels to the boy's level, his expression warm. You can do anything you set your mind to, he says, handing the boy a pencil from his pocket. Here, start with this. One drawing at a time, and before you know it, you'll be creating masterpieces. The boy beams, clutching the pencil like a treasure. As the event continues, a journalist approaches Marcus, microphone in hand. Marcus, your story has inspired so many people. From where you started to where you are now, it's remarkable. What's next for you? Marcus takes a moment, his eyes scanning the park, filled with people whose lives have been touched by the foundation. He sees the kids laughing, the families smiling, and the murals standing tall as symbols of hope. I want to keep doing this, he says, his voice steady. Not just creating art, but creating opportunities. I know what it's like to feel invisible, to feel like no one believes in you. I want to make sure no kid ever feels that way again. The journalist nods, clearly moved. And how does it feel to know you've come full circle? Marcus smiles, his gaze turning toward Snoop, who's surrounded by a group of young fans. It feels like a beginning, not an ending. There's still so much work to do. Later, as the sun begins to set, Snoop calls Marcus up to the stage. The crowd gathers, their excitement palpable. Snoop holds the mic, his voice carrying effortlessly over the noise. Why all today ain't just about these dope murals. It's about what they represent: second chances, new beginnings, and the power of believing in someone. And this guy right here, he gestures to Marcus. He's living proof of what happens when you don't give up. The crowd erupts into applause as Marcus steps forward. He takes the mic, his heart pounding but his voice strong. I don't have much to say except, thank you, Marcus begins. Thank you to this community, to this foundation, and to Snoop for giving me a chance when no one else would. This park, these murals, they're proof that when we come together, we can create something amazing. The applause grows louder, a standing ovation sweeping through the crowd. Marcus feels the weight of their admiration, not as a burden, but as a reminder of how far he's come. As the event winds down, Marcus finds a quiet moment to himself, sitting on a bench beneath his mural. He stares at the city skyline in the distance, the same one he once thought he'd never escape. Now it feels like a part of him, a canvas he can continue to shape. Snoop joins him, settling onto the bench with a satisfied sigh. "You proud of yourself, nephew?" he asks. Marcus nods, a rare but genuine smile on his face. "Yeah, for the first time in a long time, I really am." Snoop grins, leaning back. "Good. Now remember, this ain't the end. This is just the start of your journey. Keep hustling, keep inspiring. The world needs more people like you." Marcus looks at him, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thanks, Snoop, for everything." Snoop waves it off, his tone light. "Just pay it forward, nephew. That's all I ask." As the sun dips below the horizon, casting the park in a warm, golden glow, Marcus feels a deep sense of peace. His journey isn't over, but for the first time he's not afraid of what lies ahead. He's ready to face it, pencil in hand, one drawing at a time.